The moment the lights dimmed, something in the air felt different, like the room itself was holding its breath. Before a single note was sung, before a word was spoken, you could sense that this was not going to be an ordinary audition. A lone figure stood backstage, hands trembling slightly, whispering a quiet prayer in a language his mother taught him as a child. In just a few seconds, the world would hear his voice, but what they didn't know was the long road, the pain, the doubt, and the unbreakable hope that had brought him to that exact spot. And before this story ends, you'll understand why moments like these remind us to never give up on ourselves. So as you listen, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel, because stories like this deserve to be shared with everyone who still believes in dreams. He came from a small coastal town in the Philippines, a place where mornings began with the sound of roosters and evenings ended with old songs drifting from worn-out radios. His name didn't matter back then. He was just another kid helping his father fix fishing nets and watching his mother count coins at the kitchen table, hoping they would last until the end of the week. Music was never a career option in his family, it was a comfort, a companion during hard times. On Sundays, when the heat was heavy and the future felt uncertain, he would sit near the window listening to his uncle's cassette tapes. That was where he first heard Elvis Presley. The voice felt larger than life, but at the same time, strangely human. Something clicked inside him, as if that sound was speaking directly to his heart. As he grew older, life grew harder. His father fell ill, medical bills piled up, and school became a luxury they could barely afford. Many nights, he sang quietly to himself while studying under a dim bulb, imagining stages he had only seen on television. People around him often smiled politely when he talked about singing, but their eyes carried doubt. "Be realistic," they said. "Dreams don't pay bills." Those words hurt more than he admitted, but they also fueled him. Every rejection, every laugh, every closed door became another reason to keep going. He sang at weddings, small-town fiestas, and cramped karaoke bars where the microphone barely worked. Sometimes he was paid with a meal instead of money. Sometimes not paid at all. But every time he sang Elvis, people stopped what they were doing. Conversations faded. Heads turned. For a few minutes, the noise of everyday struggle disappeared. Still, recognition never came easily. Auditions were failed. Applications went unanswered. There were moments when he considered quitting, choosing a safer path, one that wouldn't disappoint his family. But then he would remember his mother's tired smile and the way she always said, "If your voice is a gift, don't bury it." The decision to audition for America's Got Talent felt impossible. The cost, the travel, the fear of embarrassment on an international stage, it all seemed too much. But sometimes life gives you a single chance, and you either take it or spend forever wondering what could have been. With borrowed money, endless paperwork, and a heart full of hope, he made the journey. On the flight, he replayed Elvis songs in his head, not trying to imitate, but to honor the emotion behind them. He wasn't there to be Elvis. He was there to be himself. Standing on the AGT stage, the lights were blinding. The judges sat silently, expressions unreadable. Simon Cowell looked up, curious but cautious, having heard thousands of voices before. The audience waited, unsure of what to expect from the quiet man holding the microphone. When he introduced himself, his voice shook slightly. When he mentioned where he was from, a few people smiled kindly. Then the music started. The first note changed everything. It wasn't just good. It wasn't just impressive. It was raw, powerful, and deeply emotional. The kind of voice that carries years of struggle, sacrifice, and unspoken dreams. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Simon's eyebrows lifted, disbelief written across his face. This wasn't the voice anyone expected. It felt like Elvis, but it also felt like a man pouring his entire life into every word. The song grew, the confidence grew, and by the final note, the audience was on its feet. Tears filled his eyes as the applause crashed over him. For the first time, all the doubt faded. Simon leaned forward, shaking his head, smiling in a way that said everything words couldn't. "I did not expect that," he said honestly. That was unforgettable. In that moment, it wasn't just about advancing to the next round. It was validation. Proof that his voice mattered. That his journey mattered. But the story didn't end there. Fame didn't erase his past or magically solve every problem. There were new pressures, new expectations, and new fears. Yet now, he faced them with something he never had before: belief. Belief from the world, and more importantly, belief in himself. He used his platform to honor his family, his hometown, and every dreamer watching from a small room somewhere, wondering if their talent would ever be enough. By the end of his journey, win or lose, he had already succeeded. He reminded millions that greatness can come from anywhere. That sometimes the most powerful voices are the ones almost silenced by hardship. His story became a message louder than any song: your background does not define your future, and your dreams are valid, no matter how impossible they seem. If this story moved you, if it reminded you of your own dreams or struggles, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps keep stories like this alive. And remember, somewhere right now, a voice is waiting to be heard. Don't let it be silent. The curtain hadn't even opened yet, but somewhere deep in the theater, a feeling spread through the crowd: something unexpected was about to happen. Backstage, a man stood alone, eyes closed, breathing slowly, gripping a small pendant his mother had given him years ago. In a few moments, millions would judge him in seconds. But what they didn't know was that this stage was not just an audition for him, it was a lifetime of struggle finally asking to be heard. And before this story ends, you'll understand why believing in one moment can change everything. If stories like this touch your heart, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel, because every dream deserves an audience. He grew up in a narrow street where houses were close and dreams felt far away. In his Filipino neighborhood, people worked hard just to survive. His childhood was filled with simple joys and heavy responsibilities. By the age when most kids were dreaming freely, he was already helping his parents make ends meet. Music entered his life quietly. An old radio, scratched and fading, played songs from another era. When Elvis Presley's voice came on, it felt like magic. That sound didn't just entertain him, it gave him escape. In those moments, the walls disappeared, the worries faded, and he felt seen without anyone even knowing his name. As years passed, life tested him again and again. He sang whenever he could, on the streets, at family gatherings, in small bars where people talked over his voice. Some nights he went home with a few coins, other nights with nothing but sore feet and tired hands. Friends told him to quit, to find a real job, to stop chasing something so unlikely. Even relatives questioned him, not out of cruelty, but fear. Fear that he would fail. Fear that hope would only lead to heartbreak. And there were nights when he believed them. Nights when he sat alone wondering if his voice was just another forgotten sound in a noisy world. But every time he thought of giving up, music pulled him back. Singing Elvis wasn't about copying a legend, it was about expressing emotions he didn't have words for. Pain, gratitude, love, regret, all of it lived in his voice. He practiced endlessly, not in studios, but in small rooms and empty streets. He carried his dream quietly, afraid to say it out loud too often, afraid that speaking it might make it disappear. The idea of auditioning for America's Got Talent felt unreal. The distance, the cost, the pressure, it all felt designed for someone else, someone more confident, someone with fewer scars. Yet life has a way of pushing you when you're almost ready to give up. With support from people who barely had enough themselves, he took the risk. The journey was long, filled with fear and doubt. On the plane, he looked out the window and wondered if this was bravery or foolishness. When he finally stood on that massive stage, his heart pounded so loud he thought the judges could hear it. Simon Cowell sat there, known for honesty that could crush dreams or elevate them in seconds. The audience waited, silent but curious. He spoke softly when he introduced himself. There was nothing flashy about him. Nothing that screamed star. And then the music began. From the first note, the atmosphere changed. It wasn't just a strong voice, it was a voice carrying a life story. The sound was rich, emotional, and unexpectedly powerful. People leaned forward. Some covered their mouths in shock. Simon's expression shifted from casual interest to pure disbelief. This was not what anyone expected. This was not just an Elvis song. This was a man pouring years of sacrifice into melody. As the song built, confidence replaced fear. Each lyric